She needs a date to her best friend's gala. He wants to settle down. Can they get past their hang-ups to see that they should be together? This is the premise of The Accidental Swipe by me, Y.M. Nelson. This steamy contemporary romance features Jason and Fortune, two people who've given up on love and are urged to use an online dating app to find someone. When they find each other, the attraction is undeniable, but their jaded outlooks on love based on past emotional hurt may keep them from getting together. The Accidental Swipe releases on July 25th, 2023. Go to ymnelson.com for all of the latest details. This is the Nerdy Romantics Podcast, and I'm your host, Y.M. Nelson. Hello, romance readers. I'm so used to saying nerdy romantics on my podcast. I'm not sure how to intro this, but I know we're all romance readers here because I know everybody's excited about my guest, Tati Richardson, who has written The Build-Up, her debut romance novel. And for those who don't know me, I am Y.M. Nelson, and I am the creator and host of Nerdy Romantics Podcast. And I am your guest host today for Romance in Color as well, to talk about what's up with Tati. How are you, Tati?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you.
So for my listeners, tell us a little bit about your podcast, Romance in Color, and a little bit about you.
So I'm Tati Richardson. I'm one half of the duo at Romance in Color. I started Romance in Color with one of my good friends of like 20 years, Yakini Etheridge, who is a psychologist, and we talk all things romance. We talk a little bit of pop culture. We talk, romance books and movies, and we also do extensive interviews with authors. And I'm also, in addition to having the podcast, Romance in Color, where we say we're a place for real inclusive love. So we focus mostly on BIPOC folks, queer stories as well. I am also a debut author whose book, The Build-Up, is out on the 28th of March. So really, really excited about that. And we've had Romance in Color, the podcast, this is the 4th season now. We started it back in 2019. And so it's been a lot of fun getting to know folks in Romancelandia through the podcast and just getting to know other authors who are just amazing people, and just, authors I say are just the most giving people and just give of themselves all the time, and really make themselves vulnerable in so many ways. And so I really appreciate them coming on the podcast and talking about their passion and their work and things like that with my audience.
Yes. And I know with your podcast, you do talk a little bit about the writer's journey, but with Nerdy Romantics Podcast, we talk about the reader a lot.
Okay.
And so, I'm going to get into this book.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask about different things in the book. Should we do a spoiler alert?
Sure. Well, sure. Let's do a spoiler alert.
Okay, y'all.
Spoiler alert.
All right, y'all heard it here. Spoiler alert. So if you haven't read The Build-Up, go and read it, and then come back and listen to all this wonderful goodness that we are about to share. Okay, so I want to first talk about so this is going to be a little bit of the writer's journey as well, because some of my audience are also writers too. I want to know how you came up with this particular story.
I really wanted to read a story about someone who was of my demographic. I say that because, I'm in my 40s. I wanted to read a story about somebody in their 40s, somebody who was Black, a professional who, is on this love/slash professional journey, because I feel like women in our 40s are kind of on that journey. And I just wanted a book that made me feel, I wanted to write a book that made me feel like how I felt when I watched, romantic comedies in the 90s, the great Black romantic
Yes.
comedies in the 90s, the Brown Sugars.
Yes.
Yeah, the Brown Sugars and the the Best Mans and all that. I wanted those type of feels when I, wrote this book. And I say, what if I write a book featuring, you know, a plus size heroine who's in a profession that's very male dominated, who has a, at the time when I was working on it, it was actually going to be her boss, but I changed it to her coworker, but who has someone on the job who's just smitten with her. No holds barred. It's not about her weight. It's not about anything. It's just about him being completely smitten with her.
Yeah.
And one of my idols in life is Queen Latifah. And I always said that she's like the perfect rom-com star because she always gets the guy. She always looks fly.
Yes.
She always, she's always, in the end becomes a very even if it maybe not in the beginning, but in the end, she becomes a very self-assured and aware person. And I wanted a character like that. So it's kind of a little bit like a homage to Queen Latifah. And it was also a homage to the era that I grew up in, which was like, the 90s and early 2000s, of that type of feeling of cinema and books that came out around that time too. The Omar Tyrese and the
Yep.
or Eric Jerome Dickies and things like that I grew up kind
Right.
of cut my teeth on reading. Terry McMillan,
Hmm.
things that have great, memorable characters and just good plots and things that
Right.
made you laugh. Because I mean, a rom com should make you laugh. You shouldn't just chuckle like that's funny. But
Yeah.
I really wanted people to laugh and really not only laugh but sympathize with characters and stuff like that. So that was kind of the impetus for the story. And I had been mulling it around for a long time. And then finally, right before my 40th birthday, I said, that's it. I'm going to write this. And I did. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So how long did it take you?
It took me about a year, maybe a little under a year to write the first draft of it. Um, but trust me, all writers know, and I hope readers realize that the iteration of the book that you get when it comes out is never the first draft, y'all. It's always like the third or fourth iteration of the book. But yeah, it took me about a little under a year. And then I was a member of a very important romance group called Inclusive Romance Project, where the founder, Carmen Kelly, wanted to uplift marginalized voices, women, minority voices, queer voices. And so I applied for their mentorship program. And I worked with established author Kilby Blades, who kind of guided me through the revision process and to get it ready to go on submission for the traditional publishing realm. And I got it a little bit better than it was before and sent it out there. And then I just waited just to see, what would happen.
Mhm.
And, got a lot of rejections. And then, a few months later, I was like, well, I'm not going to hear that. I was like, I don't hear nothing from these people. I'm just going to pull it. And one of my friends was like, don't do it. Don't do it. And then shortly after, I think a couple birthdays ago, I heard from the folks at Harlequin. They're like, we want to work with you. We want to publish this book. So yeah, that whole time period from writing to hearing back was probably almost a year and a half, something like that. And
Yeah.
then getting the book out was another year and a half. So it was about 3 years in between, really,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
writing the book until getting it out now.
Wow. Yeah. And for everybody listening, that's not uncommon. That's
No,
very
no,
common,
no.
especially for traditional publishing. I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you got this book out because I did everything that the whole reasons, all the reasons why you said that you wanted to write this book are a lot of the reasons why I love it. And, on Nerdy Romantics podcast, we talk about this as well. And some of my guest hosts on there also talk about this. We're always looking for that heroine that's Black woman around our age,
Mm-hmm.
please. No
Mm-hmm.
20-year-olds. We've already done that. We've already just gotten out of college trying to find ourselves.
Yeah.
We need some 40-year-olds in here.
Right.
And the fact that she's plus size is
Mm-hmm.
just icing a lot of times. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we have all of this here.
Yeah.
And not only that, with plus size heroine, with the heroine being plus size, I love that she's confident and plus
Oh
size.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another whole thing. We get the book, we get the trifecta, female, Black, plus size, or in their 40s or whatever. And then we get a heroine that's like, I'm trying to figure myself out, or,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And, you know, for most of the ladies that I talk to that want to read that book and want
Mm-hmm.
to see themselves there, they do not see themselves as I am in the struggle
Right.
part.
Right. Right. Right.
We
And
have enough of those books.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to write a heroine that it was so woe is me. And I didn't want to have a plot that featured a male character with like this Pygmalion-esque, like, come to Jesus moment, like, oh wow, I really realized she's beautiful in spite of being fat. No, 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 no. I didn't
No,
want
yeah,
that.
no.
I wanted a male character who was like, I think she's fine, she looked good, I want her, I need her, I gotta have her from the just a little bit of insta love, true. But Porter likes Ari from the jump, and he likes Ari because she is confident in herself and knows who she is, and she's confident professionally, even though she's taken a few hits. She's confident in her body and herself, and very self-aware and self-assured. And I wanted a woman like that because, remember, like I said in the beginning, Queen Latifah is everything to me. And I have never, ever, ever seen a moment when Queen Latifah looked like she was, shaking and put down and looking bad. Queen Latifah is the queen of the bomb ass, if I could cuss on her, bomb ass silk press, okay? So she ain't never looked bad, okay? She always looks good. She always
Right.
put
That's
together.
it.
And again, let me just be 100 here. As a Black woman, I don't know too many plus size Black women going, woe is me, I'm fat. Woe is me, I'm feeling bad about myself. Because maybe culturally we just embrace and love our plus size women a little differently. And I've never met a plus size woman who's like, I'm gonna sit at home, I'm miserable. Maybe there are. I don't know them. And I'm not gonna say that's not the experience of some of my plus size sisters, because I know it is. But I don't know them. That wasn't me. I wasn't, what was me? I'm gonna sit home and I'm feeling miserable and sad about myself. No, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna live life because that's what life is for. Life is for living. And so I wanted a character like Ari, because the situation is not about her weight. It's not about her finding love because she's fat. It's about all the other obstacles she has around her. And being fat is a very, very small part of that story.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's just she has accepted that this is who she is,
Mm-hmm.
and you better either take it or leave it,
Take it
but
or leave it.
I ain't
Exactly.
having that kind
Exactly.
of.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned Queen Latifah in the beginning, and you mentioned her again. And the other thing about Queen Latifah is she don't ever get no ugly man.
Listen, say that
She
again.
always
Queen
get the
Latifah,
fine dudes.
in the movies, Queen Latifah stay getting a fine dude. In real life, Queen Latifah got a fine partner. She's queer. We all know that. Queen
Exactly,
Latifah got a fine
exactly.
wife. So Queen Latifah don't keep no fine folks. No, don't keep go get no slack. You know what I'm saying? She
She
gets
does
fine
not.
partners. So yeah, she gets the man. That's what I'm saying. She gets the
Exactly.
man. that, and well, in addition to Queen Latifah, now we've seen Lizzo on the rise, and folk like that, although though they wouldn't qualify her as plus size, I'd say Meg the Stallion she's a tall, statuesque woman, of has some weight on her, she's not a skinny girl. And so we're
Mhm.
seeing confident, bigger women, living their lives and being truthful and being themselves. And, it's time for that to come also in romance and romance books as well.
Exactly, exactly. We
Hmm.
need to we need to normalize that here,
Hmm.
especially since, to me now, while there are a lot more Black women who are married, there the disparity between the Black women who are married and the white women who are married
Yeah.
is like kind of big, right? And
Hmm.
so I think a lot of times single Black women, I'm speaking for myself, a single Black women out here are thinking, you know, can we find love,
Hmm.
or can we at least see that happening?
Yeah.
At least normalize that. At least
Yeah.
bring us into the conversation
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And to me, romance novels they're getting better, but they were kind of like the last to come along to showing Black women, especially plus size Black women, that yes, there is love out there, and yes, you can find love, and yes, this scene should be normalized kind of
But
thing.
here's the thing, Yvonne, if I may say this.
Yes.
The statistics, I think when people look at statistics, people got to remember people can work statistics any way they want, right? To tell whatever narrative, right? So I forgot what book it was, but I forgot what it's called. But it's either called Why Are All the White Women Married or something like that. I can't remember, but it's a
Mhm.
psychologist who wrote it. But Black women do get married. They just are older when they get married. That peak
Mhm.
time when Black women who people are supposed to be quote unquote getting married between the ages of 20 something and 30 something. Black women out here working, Black women out here
That's
getting
right.
degrees, all this other things. It may just not be a priority right now. But Black women, when they get older, they are getting married, they are having children and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But when you hear these stats, oh, Black women ain't getting married, Black women, can't find mates, da, da, da. Can't find mates right now in their 20s and 30s. But when they get older, things change. You're more
Yes.
established, you're more in tune with who you are. All these things, it opens up, professionally, you might be in a different realm where it opens up possibilities of you meeting men in different arenas. So I think we have to be careful with that narrative because, you know, I'm not a person who doesn't want to not pedal, sadness. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta operate in hope. And
Yes.
I know
Yes.
as a person in my 40s, just a personal story. I've been married twice. I got divorced in my 20s. And I had this period between my late 20s and mid 30s. I was like, oh my God, I'm probably not gonna get married, da da da. And then my husband comes along and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have kids. Did I have a baby? Like I did all these things, but I was older. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So, we have to kind of look at the statistics and numbers in a different way. I'm not saying you're not wrong. And this isn't a debate or anything like that. I'm just saying
No.
we
Yeah.
have to realize why people put numbers out there the way they do. And a lot of
Mhm.
times it's to discourage you and to create
Mhm.
false narratives when really if you flip the coin, like we say on the other side, but look at the other side of things and you'll see
Mhm.
that there's hope and there's possibility out there. Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Hmm.
And that's and to me also that's kind of why we should keep these images out there. We
Oh,
should,
absolutely.
yeah, that's why we should normalize it, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's why I love that this book is out there. But you mentioned the hero Porter
Yes.
who is in love with Ari pretty
Hmm.
much from jump.
From jump. He sees her and he's like,
Um,
yeah, gotta have her.
and yes, and yes, he does love her for who she is, but y'all, he falls in love with her just from seeing her on the train. I just love that part, y'all. He was just like, "Oh my gosh, it's from the train," and he just, love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So for the voracious romance readers out there,
Hmm.
are you
Hmm.
calling him a cinnamon roll? Are you
Oh
calling
yeah.
him a beta? Are you
Uh-uh.
okay? Yeah.
Porter is the most gushy, ooey gooey cinnamon roll of cinnamon rolls out there, and I am not ashamed to say that I made him that way on purpose because this is the argument that I hear from a lot of folks, and I'm not trying to be controversial on your podcast,
It's okay.
but the thing I hear
Speak
from
your mind.
the thing I hear from a lot of readers, and I've been engaged on book talk and things like that. But the thing I hear from a lot of readers is, well, I don't like reading Black romance because, it seems so unrealistic. Like they feel like the Black guys, there aren't Black guys out there like that. And that's not true. They would rather read, they feel like the Prince Charmings and the sweet men and the alpha males or even just a cinnamon rolly type guy can't be found in a Black male character. So a lot of folks tend to read IR, interracial and stuff like that, which is fine. If that's your prerogative, that's your prerogative. But don't knock Black romance because it features two Black characters, two unambiguous Black characters.
Right.
And you're saying that it doesn't seem realistic. Well, I wanted to create a character in Porter that was so, like, you can't help but fall in love with him. Like you cannot help but,
Right.
you're like, oh my God, where's my Porter? Like I've had people inbox me, oh
Right.
my God, where's my Porter though, Todd? Where's my Porter? So, I wanted to create a guy that was so ooey and gushy mooey, just the sweetest, just so sweet, give you a toothache, that type of
Yes.
guy. And I said, because I wanted folks to see that Black men can be just that sweet. And I've read plenty of books like that. So I don't know where that narrative comes from. But for me, I wanted to create Porter, particularly when it comes to Ari, in particular, her being plus size, being so sweet and kind and caring about her
Mm,
and
yeah.
putting her first, So,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I absolutely love that. I am here for that. I am all the way here for that. Yes. And interesting that you say that about, interesting that you say that you say that about IR romance, and that's why some people, not
Some
everybody,
people, not all. Yeah.
not all, are reading that because it's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's I'm a
Really?
little older. Yeah, I'm a little older than folks that's on TikTok, right? I'm not ashamed to say. So they're in their 20s and 30s. So they never cut their teeth on the stuff that we read. You know what I'm saying? Coming up.
Yes.
That was full of Black men who were sweet and kind and all these things. It may not have been classified as quote unquote traditional romance, but it may
Right.
have been women's fiction, or it may have been some other things, or just lit fiction. But there was
Yeah.
romantic elements in there that featured
Exactly.
men like that. So they're like, that doesn't exist. Yes, it does. It does. And we have a pantheon of writers who've done those things. But don't say that it's not realistic just because you are closed off to it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and it's a big argument about that I try to stay out of the stuff on TikTok because it gets crazy, but with the book talk stuff, but that was one that I was just like, I just can't stay silent on. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, yeah, are you kidding me? But yeah, now 90s movies, like you were saying, 90s movies. Are you kidding
Exactly.
me?
These
Yeah.
babies ain't seen none of that. They don't know.
Right.
They don't
They
know.
don't know. They don't
Yeah.
know. But you say them being unapologetically Black. And I
Hmm.
and you are totally right about that. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, as much as I was reading and I was laughing, I was like, "Yep." I was like, these are Black people. Yeah, these are our folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I love the dynamic.
Hmm.
It's unapologetically Black, and it's the way they're interacting at work
Mm-hmm.
could be just about any drama out there on
Mm-hmm.
TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, this it's real, and we have these whole wonderful Black characters
Mm-hmm.
that are nothing like any stereotypes that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
on TV and everything. They're just being their whole full selves, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for all of it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
here for
yeah,
all of it.
yeah.
I especially like the fact that they are at a Black
Right,
architecture firm. I
right.
love that. I love that because and pretty much every character, I think except one in this book is Black.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody except one of his best friends is Sean. He's the only white guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even if that character is a secondary character, you're seeing another personality, you're seeing
Mm-hmm.
another way that this Black person interacts with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what representation is all about. This is what I
Mm.
always talk about this on my
Yes.
podcast every time we talk about anything that has to do with race. Is really about representation. And the more sides of us are seen, the more you understand who we are.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
less you have
absolutely.
to sit there and ask questions and try to touch our hair and all that other kind of
Mm. Mm.
ridiculous mess that people do.
Yeah.
And so I like the fact that you have basically all of these characters are Black and they
Mhm.
all interact in different ways. There's
Yeah.
villains.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
There are, sweethearts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are sidekicks. You have all of that,
Yeah.
and I love that. I especially love, not to get away from the story and the fact that this is so culturally is enriched with our culture. I
Mm-hmm.
especially love the fact that you have Porter and Ari from HBCUs. They
Yes.
attended HBCUs.
Yes.
I know that was intentional, but
Oh
tell
yeah.
me a little bit about why and kind of what your thinking was there to bring the
Well, I
HBCU
mean,
experience in.
I'm an HBCU grad myself. I did not go to Hampton, although Hampton was my one of my first choices. I went to Clark Atlanta University. Shout out to Panther Pride. And I picked Hampton because I have a lot of friends who went to Hampton. One, I did visit Hampton. It's a absolutely gorgeous campus. And two, they have one of the best architectural programs in HBCUs. I had a friend who did graduate from there who actually helped consult on the book. My friend Ramisha, I went to high school with. And I knew that they had that program at Hampton. And I was like, well, what better, thing to connect them than, being a part of, the pirate family, being Hamptonites. So that's why, I have the HBCU love in there. And I think I think at first I was like, that's a gimmicky, but I think people do have an interest in HBCUs now and want to know more about them culturally and things. I do drop a few cultural things in there about Hampton and stuff because I had quote unquote Hampton consultants because I didn't go to Hampton. But I think it's important to me to highlight that HBCUs produce professional Black folk, produce
Mhm.
Black folk who are can be generational, like we see in Porter, generationally wealthy, Black people who are successful, and Black people who are talented. So I just wanted to highlight the amazingness of HBCUs and have them go to Hampton. And people, when they pick up the book, like, Hampton, where's Hampton? I never heard of Hampton.
Exactly.
And then
Yes.
they start reading about Hampton, like, oh, okay. Booker T. Washington went to Hampton, and Ruth Carter went to Hampton. They start figuring out all these other prominent Black people who went to Hampton, and so drop a little educational jewels in there every now
I
and
love
then.
it.
But as an HBCU grad, it's important for me to highlight HBCUs, which I think I might continue to do that in stories. That everybody will go to a different HBCU, a different
Yeah, I'm
HBCU,
all
baby.
about that.
It's
Yes.
107 HBCUs. I can hit all of them.
There
So
you go. There you go. But yeah, I like that that's in there to put a spotlight on how, yes, there are professional people that
Yeah,
graduate
yeah,
HBCUs.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
they're contributing and they're running things, and
Hmm.
you know, they're out there.
Yeah.
So, that was really cool to see. It was also really cool to see that, they are at this Black architectural firm,
Yes. Yeah.
and that is an industry where you don't see a lot of us.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so what was your thinking behind that as well?
At first, when I started writing it, I thought maybe the firm would be kind of mixed. But then I was like, no, I live in Atlanta. Like we have a lot of all Black firms of many different professions here in Atlanta. I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't really do my due diligence research about architectural firms, but we do have urban planning and construction firm, one of the largest in the country, H.J. Russell, who was here, who was Black in Atlanta. When I was kind of loosely based it on H.J. Russell and his urban design and city planning, which he does more construction stuff versus architectural design.
Mhm.
But that was kind of my linchpin for the creation of the architectural firm. But there are things about working in an all Black environment that I think are very different than working in a mixed environment. I think one of the things I said in the book was I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with any, microaggressions. I don't have to deal with,
Exactly. Yes.
the other stuff. It was other things she had to deal with. It
Right.
wasn't oh, your hair changed, or, where's Hampton? She didn't have to answer those questions.
Mhm.
It was more about her professional integrity versus, and a little about how she looked, only because Greer is a jerk. But, it was mostly about her professional integrity versus anything else about her being Black or a woman or anything like that. It was really about her as an architect.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly, exactly. And and so that, it kind of like takes off that part.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
takes off that struggle part so we can just see the drama play out, and there
Yeah.
is some
Yeah.
serious drama in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. There is
I
drama.
love it.
There is drama, but I will say, like, removing the racial microaggressions, we focus on more sexual microaggressions, or what I'm
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
about her, or her sexual harassment.
Yes.
It's about her being a woman, about her being in this all male space, how she navigates that, how she has to prove her professionalism, her worthiness as an architect. It's more focused on that when we remove that kind of racial element, because everybody in that Black. That doesn't matter. What
Yeah.
matters is how she produces as an architect, and what they're calling into question. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that part, in creating kind of this office space that this kind of what she thinks is going to be a utopia, which in the end really is not. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. It's it's full of every, which is why I go back to this could be any drama on TV right
I
now.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh, it really could. I mean, the way these characters are written and the stuff that they're going through, it's like, oh, could see this on screen happening. But yeah, kind of getting back to what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
about the sexual microaggressions and
Mm-hmm.
about her being a woman. I think yeah, I think in the real world, as far as architecture is concerned, that rings very true. It's very male
Oh yeah. Oh
dominated.
yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know but what I didn't know was that it is as cutthroat as it is.
Yeah, yeah. Again, talking to my friend, because when I wanted them to have a very quote unquote different profession when I was writing this book. And I said, what about architects? I like design. I like things. And then Atlanta has a soccer team. And I was like, oh, they could be building a soccer stadium. That's what I kind of came up with, right?
Yeah.
And then knew nothing about architecture or how many Black people were doing it, and you just done it third, until I talked to my friend. And when she told me about a lot of things that she went through that I put into the book, that I already goes through. I was just blown away. The fact that people mistake her for the secretary, or people, expect her to
Wow.
go get the coffee, or people when she comes in to present, they're just like, okay, so who are we waiting on? That type of thing.
Wow.
Like these are the
Yeah.
things. And for her to tell me, there are only like, there are thousands of architects, and there are only maybe 500 black ones, and out of the 500 black ones, 2% are women.
Wow.
It's just wild to me that's just such a small number of
Exactly.
women architects, and a lot of women architects who I learned in my research did amazing things that didn't get credit for building those things. So it's just
Right.
it's just it's just heartbreaking to know that even in such an insular industry, black women aren't being promoted. There's a glass ceiling. There's a really, really crazy amount of, aggressive behavior toward women, and you know, especially black women in that field. I had no idea. None
Yeah.
when I started the book. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And reading it, it was just like shocking.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, one of those rotating kind of what do you want to do when you grow up? So I had this kind of notion at one point in high school where I wanted to be an architect, but
Mm.
I'm kind of glad I didn't go that route.
I think we
It's
need.
cutthroat enough in corporate
Uh,
America for a black woman, but this is cutthroat.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
cutthroat, and it's cutthroat, y'all, not just for the aggressiveness for being a black woman. These guys are aggressive to each other.
To each other. Yes, yes, yes,
I mean,
yes.
stealing designs and taking part of this and trying to one up each other in meetings and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, just seeing that, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a shock. And it's funny because, you have this shock as I'm reading this, and then I'm thinking about authors and writing and stuff. And the whole writing community is, I wouldn't say the whole writing community. I would say everybody that I've met so far is so nice and giving and
Right,
everything.
right.
Yeah, it's like, why?
Well, I mean, I will say I did take some artistic, liberty, and made it a lot more
Yeah,
cutthroat than it really is. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know that stuff happens.
yeah,
And again, from my consultant, and I did talk to a black guy who's also an architect. A lot of times when you're black and you show up in a room, people are just not gonna respect you, and because there are so few of us. Sometimes, and that's with any industry. Sometimes we go at it with each other,
exactly.
which is unfortunate. So
Yeah,
I mean, I did take a little artistic liberty on that, but I mean, it definitely could, and probably does happen often.
yeah. I'm thinking that it does. I'm
It
thinking that it
probably does.
does. Oh, but to move from the boardroom and the office out into the world
Hmm.
of Ari and Porter, they go
Hmm.
to some nice restaurants.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like, the food there, I'm like, can I be a part of this?
Fun fact. Only one of those no, is it one? No, yeah, only one of the restaurants mentioned in the book is fake. All the rest of the places are real, and there are real places that I mentioned in Atlanta that are awesome foodie places. Porter is the foodie, not Ari.
Yes, the foodie.
He's the foodie. And I want to make that very clear. I was like, I don't want y'all to be thinking just because she's big, she's gonna be eating all the time. But Porter's the foodie, and he does all these things just to impress her. He likes to go out to eat, so he just wants to do things to impress her. But yeah, only one of those places is fake, but it's based on a real place here in Atlanta. But yeah,
Even the fake place you're saying is based on
yeah,
a
even
real
the
place.
fake place is based on a real place in Atlanta. But yeah, so about 95% of the places are real.
Well, you know where I want to go, but anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
Where you want to go, girl?
Oh, there's this one restaurant. What she was like, it's also a pickup joint. One of the waiters tried to pick her up, You know,
Well,
when you're trying to get.
so I take that back. So I've made up two places, but they are based on real places. And yes, and true story, yes, the waiters are fine in at that restaurant. Shout out to the Grill Village in Atlanta.
All right, all
But
right.
yeah, the waiters are good looking, male and female. They are a very attractive bunch, and I think he hired them people purposely to be attractive. But yeah, it's based on a real spot that is very, very popular in Atlanta.
Oh, that's cool. That
So
is
okay, so
cool.
two places are made up.
But yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. For the restaurants, how many of them are real? But also to the bigger picture, it's like, well, we know that you live in Atlanta, but
Mhm.
is are you writing what you know pretty much,
Oh
like
yeah,
about all
yeah.
these places and stuff?
Oh
You
yeah. Oh yeah,
um
definitely. Also because the other thing is my husband is a chef. So it's not like we're constantly going out trying different places and stuff like that around the city. So, the place where he goes in like 30-degree other good tacos, that is a real place. The Japanese restaurant is a real place. Where they have the private dinner. I'm not trying to give no spoilers. That is a real place. I've only been there for a work event, but my sister-in-law went there for her anniversary and she was like, girl, this place is expensive. I was like, yeah, it's expensive, girl. But well, I've only been there for a work event. But yeah, they're all real places. Yeah. And I love food. I love to eat. I'm gonna give away all the spoilers, but another fun fact about the book is, when they go in to have burgers.
mhm.
I took that from my real life because one of my first dates with my husband was going to a burger spot and he saw the way that I enjoyed the hamburger, like unabashedly, like I wasn't being cute
Yeah.
with it. You know what I mean? Like I had the juice running down my hand, I had a beer in one hand, I had the burger in another. He was like, "I'm going to marry her." He said it then. He's like, "I'm going to marry her," and I kid you not. 7 months later, he proposed.
Oh wow. That is so awesome.
he saw me tearing up that hamburger and I was eating and he just looked over at me and I was like, "What, you want some?" I was like, I wasn't even like thinking. I was like, "You want some?" He's
Yeah.
like, "Nah, just looking." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." I'm just eating, drinking, and he was like, he told me later on, he's like, "When I saw you eating that hamburger like that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna marry her." That's the
Love
craziest
that.
thing, but yeah.
I love that. Ah. All right, so bulletin ladies out there, if y'all looking for a dude, stop it with the salads.
Yeah, stop.
Just get
Yeah,
you in a
stop the
burger.
salad. Don't nobody want no salad eating chick. Just stop the salad. No matter what
Right?
these alpha bros say on these podcasts, people want somebody to like to eat and enjoy eating and enjoy life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, and see, and that's essentially what it's about. And that's kind of what you feel when they are together. They being
Mm-hmm.
Porter and Ari are
Mm-hmm.
together. I'm trying to give them a nickname. Trying to give them a nickname. What was that about? But anyway, when they're together, they are just loving life.
Mm-hmm.
And, they have those real moments, when they're just together being themselves.
Yeah.
And I think, really to me, that's kind of one of those, whether you meant it or not, that's kind of one of those side things that I got from it is
Mm-hmm.
that you really just need to be yourself. And two, like you were saying
Yeah.
before, when we get into our 40s, that's when we start really being
Yeah.
ourselves.
There's no pretense, no
Yes,
pretense.
I
You
love
showing
it.
up to as your whole self.
Yeah.
And then I think we learned from the very first page of the book, Ari, despite what's going on, is gonna show up as her whole self, whether it's
He
sloppy,
surely did.
messy, whatever. I'm just gonna show up as me, but I'm here. That the point is I'm here.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm showing up, and that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And she doesn't back down no matter
No.
how many embarrassing situations
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
I
And
was
she
feeling
get
for
a
her
lot of
in
them.
that. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I was feeling for her. I was like, yeah, I've been there. I've been there with the clumsy. Yes, I
Yes.
have. But, kind of the way that she dealt with it was just
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, I wish I could have dealt with it that same way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I just love that. But what I want to do now is
Okay.
I like to
Bracing
do a
myself.
little rapid fire with authors
Oh,
when I
oh snap!
interview
I'm
them.
on the other end of it because I do this too. So I'm on the other I'm on the other end. Oh snap! Okay,
I love it.
here we go.
It won't be a lot of rapid fire, but just tell me what you like, what first comes to mind when I ask
hmm
these questions, okay?
hmm
So first off, what was the first romance that you read that made you want to write romance?
It probably was Beverly Jenkins' Night Song.
Ah,
And I distinctly remember going to the library and checking that out over and over and over again. I had been 13, 14, but I was just checking it out over and over and over
oh
again.
my
And
gosh.
I love that book so much. And of course, like I said, I my mom, she didn't, she allowed me to read anything in the house. Didn't matter what it was. So I read a lot of Alice Walker. I read a lot of Terry McMillan. And I like the way Terry McMillan created Black women. They weren't perfect, but you love them, you know.
Mhm.
But definitely Beverly Jenkins. I I wore that I wore that copy of Night Song. Man, I wore that thing out.
I love it.
The
I
librarian was sick of
love it.
me.
Was that your first romance novel ever that you read, or that was just the one that resonated with you?
That was the one that resonated with me, but I definitely remember my mom having like Danielle Steele and Jackie Collins and all that in the house. And I remember, reading Scruples. You remember that? Scruples. Um,
Gosh,
oh yeah, that's old girl. I'm been
wow.
on yeah, Scruples. I remember she had that. And I remember I read it and I was like, these are some rich people problems. Like I don't
Right.
understand this.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember her having those books. So I remember those were the popular books of the 80s. And she had those. So those are some of the first ones I remember reading. But when I found out Beverly Jenkins, I was like, yeah, this is, and I was hooked. I was hooked on like
Mm.
Black romance and historicals and stuff. That was when I first started reading stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Another rapid fire. Best book boyfriend, or the one that you just love the
Porter. I'm
most.
just kidding. I gotta go with Beverly Jenkins again. Galen from Indigo. Oh my God, the way she crafted that man.
Mm.
I still think about. I mean, it brings tears to my like the way he loved. Oh my Lord, Galen, hands down, Galen. I'm done.
Love
Galen.
it. All right. Okay.
Galen.
And that's it for this. No.
I
Okay.
don't know.
So,
I just. Oh man, I can see her and Brenda Jackson's praises all day, but it's just like the way
yes.
that particular book. It's like the way she crafted that man to just. I think that's what was part of my inspiration for Porter. It was just the way he loved her so
Mhm.
unapologetically. That's what I like in a book boyfriend. So yeah,
Yeah.
Galen,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Mhm.
This book, what was your favorite scene to write? And you don't have to say what was in the scene, just, yeah,
My
something else.
favorite scene to write probably was the spank scene. It's
Okay.
so ridiculous, but yeah, that was my favorite. It was funny to me. It was just funny. I just thought it was funny.
What was the hardest scene to write?
Ooh, I know people hate miscommunication tropes, but I mean, there is a miscommunication trope in this book. But for me, the hardest scene was you know, writing in general, kind of Ari's indecisiveness because she had been hurt before, and she's just like, and I didn't like putting Porter through the hurt. So I guess it was hard for me to write those scenes, and particularly when Porter, you know, finds out Ari's ultimate decision, that really hurt. They have that really hurt for me to write. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And lastly, what's your favorite trope? What's your favorite romantic trope?
Ooh, my favorite romantic trope is probably It's probably Friends to Lovers, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Followed by Second Chance, a close second, but yeah, Friends to Lovers. Definitely,
Okay.
definitely. I
Do you
like
have
Enemies to
any
Lovers too. Yeah.
do you have any recommendations for your favorite trope?
Friends to Lovers trope that I like. Gosh, I'm over here looking at my bookcase now. Like,
Right?
I got a lot of stuff over here. Let's see. I like Quana Jackson's Not Again. That's their Friends to Lovers. Gosh, I hate being put on the spot, but I read too many. I read entirely too many.
You
Oh
and me
God.
both. You and me both. I would be
Um.
stumped too.
And I do read a lot of YA, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And one of the best YA books that I read was The Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Janata Petrus. And it has a friends to kind of, well, not really, maybe a little bit of a lovers element to it, but their
Mhm.
friendship and the love between them was just beautiful. So that's one of my picks too as well. But yeah, I read, and plus I gotta read for the podcast. I read too many books.
Yeah. It's like, oh gosh, when you have to read for the
I
podcast, it's
know.
like, oh my gosh. But
It's
then at
too
the same
many.
time, you find this other book and you're like, I want to read this too. Yeah.
I know. It's just too many. It's just too many. Oh my God.
Ah,
Too many.
it's a lot, but hey, we got some good recommendations because I'm gonna put these on my TBR.
Yes, please do.
I
Please.
already had Not Again on my TV. I've had that on my TBR
Yeah.
because
And I will say
that was the
probably,
second. That was the second one in that.
yeah, it's the second one
Yeah,
in the
Real Men
series.
Knit is the first one. Mhm.
Yeah. And then I also like for Rashawn. I love the whole Boyfriend Project series.
Oh yeah,
And I do
yeah.
love, but see, like I do love a good enemies to lovers trope. So the hookup plan, that one was too funny. I love, that's her last one. But I also like, what was the dating playbook, that one. So it kind of had like
Yes.
like a friends to like lovers, little element there too, a little bit of a workplace thing because she's hired to train him or whatever. But I like that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we like the build up.
Thank you. Thank you. I
I'm all
appreciate it.
about it. And, one other thing I want to mention, or one other line I would like to share, if you let
Okay.
me. I hollered, laughed at this. And this is just in the beginning of the book, y'all. Michelle Obama wants us to go high, but in a verbal sparring match with Greer, the only option is going to hell. Like, dang, we can't go,
Yes,
we
yes.
can't go high. We got to go to hell,
Yes,
y'all.
we gotta go to hell with him. Absolutely. And y'all, when y'all read the book, you'll realize why you gotta do that. He's
Exactly.
something else. Something else.
Exactly. And as vicious as he is, it's like, oh, I liked his viciousness too.
And there's a
Just
reason
makes the
behind,
whole,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. People are vicious for no reason, but he has
that's
his
right.
reasons. Yeah, for being
Yeah,
vicious. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's just a whole rich story, y'all.
Thank you
But
so much.
yeah, I love it. But before we leave on this, a lot of times I like to, when I'm recommending books on Nerdy Romantics podcast,
Hmm.
I also like to put in, heat levels,
Hmm.
just so people know, hey, yeah, I'm loving this book, but this is what kind of book I love.
Sure.
And if there may be any trigger warnings that people just need to, or just know, hey, this might be a trigger or something like
Sure.
that.
Absolutely.
So for me, I say heat level, I'm giving it a steamy.
Okay. It ain't school.
As
I
the
mean, it ain't.
author, as the author, what are you giving it?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's super spicy. I definitely would say
Right.
steamy. It's not super spicy. There are only maybe two, and I'd say a half sex scenes. Two and a half sex scenes, and you know why I'm gonna say a half. But yeah, it's more. It's definitely more steamy than it is spicy. I agree with you. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. But yes, for those who like sweet, clean romance, this is not it, y'all.
No,
Um,
and there's some language. I do curse. There are some
yeah,
cursing.
there's language. And to me, this is something to me. I want to know what you think about it. So,
Uh-huh.
when I think heat level, I think the heat, the sex. When I
Mhm.
think cursing, I don't necessarily think heat level.
Well,
And I
some
know a
people
lot of people
do.
put that
Yeah,
together.
that's why I said that. Some people put them
Yeah.
together. So if there's choice language, they'll say, "Oh, this book is spicy," and I'm like, "But what is there a lot of sex? No, it's just a lot of foul language." They'll say it's spicy, and I'm like, "I'll just say it's choice language." I may put a trigger warning and
Right.
say the language is a little coarse, but no, I mean, I do. I mean, I do tell people, "Hey, it's cursing in the book now," and
Yeah.
I'm very fair about the trigger warnings as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for this book, do you want to say what any of the trigger warnings
Sure,
are here, or you
absolutely.
just
Because
want to say trigger
no,
warning?
absolutely. Because I feel like I don't like when people go into a book blind and don't know those things. So there's death of a parent off page. There is a car accident. I didn't list that, but I should have. There's mentions of alcoholism, fat phobia, sexism, sexual harassment. Those are kind of things, colorism that are mentioned in the build up. But trust me, they all make for a very interesting story. So don't,
Yeah.
even if I have those trigger warnings, please don't let that deter you from reading it.
Right. Right. And it's more part of the whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the whole story. It's not we're focused on all of it.
Right. And I'm not a person that uses or talks about these subjects to titillate. It's definitely to educate and definitely to kind of bring some awareness to what occurs in people's lives. Yeah.
Overall, it's funny. It's yummy goodness.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's one of those that you just need a weekend. I'm gonna tell y'all how I read it, so y'all can take this from what you want. I sat down and I said, okay, this weekend I'm not gonna turn on the Netflix and binge on the Netflix. I'm going to read this book.
Oh wow.
And we're gonna sit here and we go figure out how long we can go through this book. And I just kept turning the pages, and I just kept turning the pages, and I was like, and then I kept turning the pages. And I was like, I gotta get something to eat because these people are eating better than I am right now.
The book will make you hungry. That could have been a trigger warning. The book will make you hungry.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
The book will make you spend some DoorDash money. Oh, okay. But I'm here for all of it. I loved all of it,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, and I hope everybody who's listening. I hope we didn't drop too many spoiler alerts. Yeah, too many spoilers. I mean, we
Yeah.
tried not to, but you just got to read this book. If you got it, it's sitting on your TBR at the moment as you're listening to this, or you
Mhm.
haven't ordered it yet and you're listening to this, get it because it's
Oh,
good.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And, I'm happy to have you on the Nerdy Romantics podcast.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to be guest hosting on Romance in Color today.
Thank you.
And you got to come back. We
I
do this
will.
again. We got to
I
do this
will. I
again.
absolutely will. Yes, absolutely. And I have to have you come on again and talk books. We can talk books and bookish gossip.
I love it. I love it. I'm here
Yes.
for it all.
Yes. Thank you.
So that's all for this episode. We've got a new website at nerdyromanticspodcast.com. But don't fear, all of our episodes and their show notes are on our new website. While you're there, please consider donating to our podcast with the donate button at the top right hand corner or the buy me a coffee button on the show notes for each episode. Your donations go straight to keeping this podcast on the air and keeping all of our episodes out there for you to listen to whenever you want to. If you want to get our show notes in your inbox, please consider signing up for our Nerdy Romantics newsletter. The sign up form is at the bottom of each page on our new website. Thank you for listening.